I just wanted to thank all of the people who are here this evening. It's really nice to see parents and staff and administrators here to talk about these important issues. So I just want to take a moment and talk to you about the context of what's going on. When I was hired, I spent roughly 125 to 150 hours meeting with people individually in 1-hour sessions, listening to what was happening in our community and our district. And there were a few essential questions that came out of that process. One essential question was, why is our cost per pupil where it is and our academic achievement isn't congruent with what we're paying? Another essential question, and one thing that really made me curious about what was happening, was the observation that students didn't get support for academic needs unless they were in special education. That really bothered me. Some parents said to me, if you don't have an IEP, you don't get the help that your kid needs. And I just want you to hear me that I can't live with that. So I went to work. After many, many hours of conversations, I presented an entry plan. And in that entry plan, in the summary, I clearly outlined that there is a major problem with our school district. We do not have intervention for academic needs prior to special education referral. The Bakey School houses 350 students. They have one paraprofessional for reading from title grants and one for math. I would akin that to pouring a cup of water on a forest fire. No, that sounds dramatic, but it's true. We don't have enough for our kids. So where is the money going? That was my next question. Memorial School has 250 students with one para for reading and one for math. Again, like pouring a cup of water on a forest fire. When 30% of our kids are passing our state assessments in math, we aren't meeting their needs. I'm not okay with that. So my question was, how do we meet their needs, and why are the taxes what they are? Why aren't we meeting their needs with a $35 million budget? Couldn't figure it out. So I started to dig in the dirt, like any good gardener. Brought me to this conclusion. We have too many facilities for the number of students that we serve. That's the bottom line. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me, no problem, no hurt feelings. When you have 1,595 students and 5 properties that you're maintaining, your money is going into properties, not student learning. I accept that if that's the will of the community. It's not a problem. But I have the answer to the question. The answer is that our money is going into facilities, not student learning. So why reorganize? First of all, the reorganization meets the needs of all students. This reorganization plan provides the academic support that students need prior to special education referral, and it also helps our kids to have better social and emotional learning. I will show you why that is in these slides. It minimizes the tax impact. It helps us to spend our dollars effectively to meet the needs of our kids. And it strengthens the Sanborn community. It's a short presentation tonight. I only have about 15 slides. And what's going to happen, I just want everyone to know, because once I share these slides, there's going to be some really strong feelings in the room, and I'm okay with that. But we have a choice before us this evening. Thank you. Are the feelings going to bring us together to solve problems, or are they going to divide us? I can't make that decision for you. You have to make that as an individual person. All I can do is tell you the facts of what I see as someone who's been asked some really difficult questions. Last spring, we hired NESDEC, the New England School Development Council, to study our enrollments in facilities. In August, they presented a plan to the school board that essentially affirmed my point that we have too many facilities for the number of students. In September of 2018, we had a community forum facilitated by Todd DeMitchell from UNH so that we could hear the concerns and perspective of the community with regard to this study. And the school board then surveyed all constituents and considered the feedback that was presented. As a result of that survey, the school board recognized that the first choice of the community was to move 7th and 8th grade to the high school facility and have K-6 schools at Memorial and Bakey. But there were some problems when we studied that plan for 5 months. It didn't really quite fit. So in October of 2018, the board asked me to study that very item, and I worked on that with my administrative team and a variety of people for over 5 months. Also in the fall of 2018, the board recognizes that the Articles of Agreement had to be modified by a 2/3 majority vote before we could even consider a change to our pre-K-5 structure. So in November of 2018, the school board generated a warrant article to address the Articles of Agreement. This warrant article also addressed a concern that we were out of compliance with state law with regard to the definition of an elementary school in a cooperative school district. An elementary school in a cooperative school district must be grades 1 through 6 or 1 through 8 or kindergarten through 6 or kindergarten through 8. The Bakey school was not in compliance. Now, to be transparent, that was not a problem unless someone made it a problem. But when we start talking about significant community change, people can get upset and make things a problem. The warrant article passed, and to say that I was shocked is putting it lightly. Getting a 2/3 majority vote for any warrant article is virtually impossible. I was sitting, I remember very clearly looking at the numbers and calling Brian Stack, who was helping me with the spreadsheet, and saying, "Brian, is this really right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I checked it 3 times. We couldn't believe it." We didn't have a plan for this. So I knew that when I came to the next school board meeting, I'd better be thinking about what that plan would be, because I had a feeling that the board would be asking. And sure enough, on March 15th, the school board asked me to present and discuss the elementary reorganization. On April 3rd of 2019, I presented an analysis of the middle school closure per the board's directive in September. And on April 10th, today, I'm presenting the overview of moving pre-K-3 to the Bakey school and 4 to 6 to the elementary school. And I'm sure that you're wondering why. I will share that with you in a moment. These are the next steps that I'm proposing for the school board in our community. After today, tomorrow morning, I will open up a second survey that addresses only pre-K to 5. We would like all of you and any community members, school board members, anyone, to teachers, students, anyone who has a question, submit it into the survey, and we're going to develop a comprehensive FAQ that will be presented to everyone on March 1st. That FAQ will give you the answers to your questions to consider before May 15th. On May 15th, the board is inviting the public to come to a community forum so that you have an opportunity to share your thoughts and feelings about the proposed plan and the answers to the specific questions. Certainly, we'd be happy to answer clarifying questions, but I just want everyone to know that the purpose of the May 15th meeting is not question and answer. The purpose of that meeting is to share your concerns or thoughts about or support for whatever plan has been provided. So I just want everyone to understand that we're happy to clarify, but the more that you communicate with me or the board prior to that night, the more accurate information that you'll have to make your point of view heard. On June 5th and 19th, the school board will deliberate, and I am asking that the school board makes a decision at the latest on June 19th, because we start budgeting for 2020 in August. Folks think it's a ways away, 2021. It's not. We're planning for 2021 starting in August. So it's important to understand that we need to know the direction as administrators. A lot of people have asked me, "What's your opinion?" And my response has been, it's up to the community. It's my job to give you the information. I will tell you that my opinion is I need intervention to help your kids learn. And if this is how it's funded, that's fine. But you'll see some figures that will show you and help you to make a decision as a community. The Bakey school, if we had pre-K, K, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, we would be able to reduce 4 teaching positions and provide intervention for kids and maintain class sizes of 18, 16, 20.2, and 18. We certainly recognize that grade 2 is a spot to watch, and we may need an additional teaching position for that location. Here's a map of the Bakey School. You can see that in the left there'd be a wing of second grade classrooms. And you can see on the right that the part of the third grade would be upstairs, and then when you look at the next page, you can see the other 3 third grade classes are right at the top by the phone number, the fax number. These maps will be available online and you'll have an opportunity to look at them. I want to remind everyone that these maps are estimates, but they're pretty accurate. The team worked really hard. I was really surprised to see how well all the staff fit into the Bakey School for grades pre-K to 3. When we did the K to 6 analysis, there were some concerns about teachers needing to be on carts, and there was some concern about the special ed programming. Those concerns are rectified by having a pre-K 3 school at the Bakey School. At the Memorial School, grades 4, 5, and 6 also come out to be a reduction of 2 teaching positions for a total of 5 positions that would support intervention for our district. Because we have the layout that we have right now, we need more classroom teachers than we have students because we have smaller groups in 2 different schools. When you put them together, the efficiency increases. Here again, I was very impressed to see that the Memorial School lays out perfectly to have grades 4, 5, and 6. You can see that grade 4 would have its own wing on the lower right-hand corner, and up in the middle, grades 5 and 6 would have their own wing so that they could collaborate, and my hope would be that students would switch classes and work together in a teaming situation, but that would be up to the principal, the curriculum director, and the teachers. Special education programming would have some efficiencies. I worked with Mrs. Gutterman and the administration, and again, these are estimated savings, but we're estimating approximately $150,000 in savings, and the benefits are way more than the savings. We'd have more efficient and effective grouping of students for related services. We'd have 1 special education teacher per grade level with an estimated caseload of between 14 and 24 students. And we would have 2 at the kindergarten level and 2 preschool level special education teachers for early specialized support. I want to remind everyone that there are very few items of research that are congruent regardless of where you look. And one of the most important pieces of research that I have never seen contesting data for is that students who receive adequate intervention before the end of 2nd grade are far more likely to succeed after 2nd grade. And the reason is this: before 2nd grade, you're learning to read. After 2nd grade, you're reading to learn. And when you get behind, and you're behind going into 3rd and 4th grade, catching up takes years. If we catch you up in 1st grade and kindergarten, your chances of success are exponentially higher. And that is the part that's affecting our high school. So you have to understand that there's a symbiotic relationship between the elementary school and the high school. If we aren't helping kids in pre-K 2, they're not succeeding later in life. If you want to see a really angry child, put a 9th grader in a history class where they can't read the text. They look very different than in 2nd grade. So the estimated financial implications for creating a pre-K 2 and a 4, 5, 6 building is that we would save approximately $658,000, and then we would spend approximately $676,000 for a net cost of $18,000, but we would fund almost $950,000 in literacy and math intervention for our students without raising taxes. That's the part that everybody really needs to think about. When you look at the total cost analysis of the annual savings versus cost, the elementary reorganization saves us $658,000 approximately. The middle school reorganization saves us $748,000 approximately. That's in year 2. Remember, in year 1, there were capital improvements to the high school that would stop us from saving the money in year 1. So this chart, as I put in the top, does not include the one-time costs for the high school facility. The total expenses for the literacy and math support were $966,500. There were some other items in there like the central office move and other things that need to occur, but compared to the support, they're minimal. So after everything's paid for at the end of year 2, we would still have $439,000 that could be reallocated to other supports for either supporting teacher pay or giving relief to our taxpayers. The benefits. This is the most important part. I want to be clear. These benefits are the things that I identified in my entry plan as being important. There's two ways to fund these, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Student achievement. We would focus our financial resources on student learning instead of facilities. The social and emotional growth. Having students together from PK-12 creates a stronger sense of the Sanborn community. When the kids come together in 6th grade, it's the Newton kids and the Sanborn kids. If they all go to kindergarten as one group, they'll be the Sanborn kids from the day they meet each other. And that makes me have goosebumps, right? Because I want them to be a community like we all are. We'd have more grade level teachers. The power of 4 to 5 teachers. Research is very clear that teachers do way better when there are 4 or 5 teachers to collaborate. Right now we have situations where we have 2 teachers in a grade level at one school and maybe 2 or 3 at another. But when you put them together, it's very powerful because they share best practices in teaching. And it's the kind of thing that you really can't quantify because it's not just meeting times. It's time when they just catch up in the hallway or they say, hey, I'm working on this and I'm struggling, or can you help my class with this, or could you come see me teach? It's an amazing thing. I've already talked about the funding for intervention for academics. And then it also, I mentioned before, it solves the issues with space and cramped quarters in the K-6 configurations. I didn't really love the pre-K-6 configuration. It was tight, especially at Bakey. This solves that problem completely. The consistency of student instruction and outcomes. The one thing I have heard consistently is that the kids are learning different things in our elementary schools and coming to the middle school with different skills. That has to be fixed regardless of whatever decision we make with our physical layout. But certainly having pre-K and 2 in one building and 4, 5, or pre-K and 3 in one building and 4, 5, 6 in another makes that kind of coordination far easier. There's efficiencies in professional development for teachers. When we bring groups in from the outside to train our teachers, it is way more efficient than having them go to 2 different buildings. Efficiencies in special education services, there was a slide for that earlier, and increased academic intervention potentially reduces special education referrals. So I've worked in a school where we've done this type of intervention. When I was hired as a principal of a pre-K2 school, we had 74% of our students reading at grade level. We organized a program very similar to the one that I'm proposing to you as a district. Within 4 years, we moved our achievement to the point where 89% of our students were reading at grade level, 6% were 1 level below, and the other 5% were more than 1 level below, but they were making more than a year's growth. This works. It works. But it's hard work. We have to align our curriculum, our instructional practices, and we have to work together. But we did reduce our special education referrals by 5% when we did this work, and I would expect the same for our district. We're currently at about 20 to 21% of our students. Jody, is that correct? Yeah, 20 to 21% of our students are receiving special education services. So I asked parents about this, and they said, well, if you don't get an IEP, you don't get the help you need. I don't want to wait 90 days for an IEP for my kid to get help. I want my kid to get help the day the teacher notices that they need a hand. And that's why we need intervention services for our district. There is some future work that we have to do. Just like I said last week, the memorial evacuation location needs to be rectified if the middle school is closed. We need to provide a couple of permanent structure classrooms at the memorial school because the modular classrooms are at the end of life. That would be part of that capital improvement plan that we've been talking about with the business office. The relocation of the current front office at the memorial school to address safety concerns. I would certainly propose that that gets funded. I estimate that to be about $60,000. We'll have to set a limit on the busing. So I've heard the concern about busing for elementary kids. How long is my kindergarten child going to be on the bus? And my answer to that is as long as we decide. We set the contracts with the bus company. If we say to the bus company, we want the children to be on the bus for 30 minutes, we just pay the cost to have that. They have less stops and they have less turns and roads to go on. It's more of a direct route. That's not a problem at all, folks. And whoever has been saying that, I want to just correct them publicly. Frankly, it's somebody who wrote a letter to the newspaper. But I just want you all to hear me that that's absolutely false, right? There's no concern about the bus runs. That's a decision that's 100% within district control. The other thing that I wanted everyone to understand is that my kids went to a pre-K2 school in a 4-5-6 building, pre-K3 and 4-5-6, and they staggered the start and end times so that you could pick your kids up and still be fine with getting kids at the end of the day if you needed to. And I know that's a concern for parents who would have kids at Bakey and Memorial. I had siblings, my son's 13 and 10, and at one point we had one at the pre-K2 school, and at another point we had one at the upper school, and now we have one at the upper school and the middle school. It's fine. We just have to solve those problems, and we have a lot of ideas about how to solve those problems, but I just want you all to know I'm thinking about it on that level, right? Because really, ultimately, we're all moms and dads trying to get our kids to and from school, and we're trying to help them to be successful. So I just wanted to summarize by, again, mentioning that the key components to this plan, it meets the needs of our students. That is the most important thing. I asked myself the following question every day through this process. If this was my son, would I send him to what I'm proposing? My 10-year-old son. And the answer is unequivocally yes, I would send my son. I'm fine with it. The second is the minimization of tax impact. We cannot continue to spend and go as fast as we've been going. With the passing of the 2 teachers' contracts and the paras contracts and the teachers' contracts, the next 2 years we're going to have a $1.2 million increase in our budget without adding anything for kids. If we added $1.5 million in intervention to $1.2 million in teachers' contracts, and then we spend $1.6 million on the middle school, we're looking at close to $4.5 million, $3 million of which would be annual. If we do the reorganization plan, all of that money, it's basically a flat tax impact. I want you all to understand what we're talking about tonight, because as your superintendent, if the will of the community and the board is to keep our schools the way they are, I will support that. If the will of the community and the board is to change the schools, I will do the heavy lifting to make it happen. But I just want to remind you all of one important point. Some people emailed me saying, well, what do teachers think about this, and what do staff members think about this? They don't like it. This isn't easy. This is hard for me to stand here and talk to you about this. But I want to be clear that everyone recognizes that they need intervention for the kids. Every teacher unanimously has said that would make things work. We know what they need to know. We know what they need to do to practice it. We need help to get it done. Every teacher. And every teacher has said to me in small meetings of groups of 5 or 6, we understand that a change is probably coming. Will you please just tell us when and what's going to happen, because we want to know where we're going. But I don't need to survey people, the administrators or the teachers, to know that they don't like it. Who would like this much change? It's scary. And I need you all to know that we recognize that, but we also feel strongly that this change would strengthen the Sanborn community. I thank you very much for being here tonight, and I just wanted to mention that we are not taking questions this evening. The questions will go in the survey that I'm going to post in about 10 minutes to Facebook or put online. You will have the opportunity to enter your questions in there, and I'll answer the questions in the FAQ, and then your opportunity to talk to the board will be on May 15th. This is a lot to digest, and there's a lot of emotion in the room tonight, and I want everyone to have an opportunity to take the 48 hours that our bodies need to think about it and get the feelings out so that we can talk about this rationally, because ultimately we set the tone for our children. And if we're calm and rational and working through this, then the children will see that and feel safe. Thank you very much and have a great evening.